Oh, here we are. Here we are. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. Welcome to the Comparison Guy podcast. Today is June 25th. 2 days until we all go, are you sure these are our two choices? Nah. At least that's what the smart people will say. And you notice I say comparison group when I talk to you, not hey guys, or hello everyone, or hey America. Because I'm only talking to smart people now. Smart people. I know some people who listen to this podcast regularly. They know me, I know them, and I know they're smart people. They get something out of this podcast. So that's who I'm talking to from now on. Smart people.
With a long history of breaking little hearts like you wanted me. That's okay, let's see how you do it. Pull up your dues, so let's get down to it.
Yeah! Come on, Joe. Put up your dukes. Come on, Donald. Put up your dukes. Hit me with your best shot. I like it. I like it. I also like all the sharing of the last episodes. Last two episodes, actually. So thank you to the smart people out there for your sharing. Last couple of episodes, the reason Biden could lose. And then the other episode, how is this not biased? People seem to enjoy those, so thank you so much. I don't have to keep saying it, but I'm a little nobody. So if I get listens, it's only from the sharing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The last episode was a long one, though. So let's keep this one short and on topic. Let's just talk about the debate coming up on Thursday. First, I'll talk about the debate rules. Next, questions that could trip up Biden or Trump. And lastly, who wins and who loses and why. I don't need to see debate to tell you who wins. You know what? Let me do the last one first. Who wins and who loses? The country loses, pretty clearly. America, we lose. Because I have a feeling I know how this debate is going to go. I don't want to get into it. Maybe after the debate, I'll get into what I suspect how this debate is going to go. But who wins? Well, neither candidate will really win. Let's be honest. Joe Biden is average. I'm sorry for all the heavy-duty Biden supporters out there, or the heavy-duty Biden haters for that matter. He's average. He's not horrible. He's not bad. He's pretty average. He's not great. He's barely good. I think Joe Biden, after 3.5 years as president, a whole bunch of years as vice president, a whole bunch of years in the Senate, he's an average guy. He does some things right. He gets some things wrong. Simple as that. And so I pretty much think that's how the debate will go for him. And the left-leaning media will cover it as a good debate for him because he'll do enough good for them to say, oh, Joe Biden had a great debate. He'll do enough bad for the right to say, oh, Joe Biden had a horrible debate. So that's how it'll go. He won't really get a huge win. He's not going to sway millions of voters to say, oh, boy, I got to vote for Joe now. Trump, he ain't going to win because he's Trump. Again, he'll be effective. Trump is quick on his feet. He's quick on his feet. He'll say some things that'll land pretty solidly on Joe, and he'll make some points that will resonate with some people, but he's going to say a whole lot of crazy things. He's going to be pretty dishonest on some things. So nobody will win the debate in terms of what we think of as winning. So that's that. That takes care of the last point. No need to spend a whole lot of time on that. Debate rules. Let's take a listen.
Both President Biden and former President Trump's campaigns have agreed to 2 commercial breaks, mics being muted when it's not their turn to speak, no props or pre-written notes. The podium position will be chosen by coin flip, and there will not be a live audience.
Huh. Is there a preferred podium position? I never knew that. Anyway, first problem I have, that's from CBS News Detroit. And the way she did that story, it kind of sounded like she was saying CNN came up with the debate rules. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting that. I was under the impression the campaigns came up with, and more specifically, the Biden campaign said, this is what we want. These are the rules. We basically want the Trump campaign to adhere to if we're going to do a debate. And the Trump campaign agreed. Forgive me if I'm getting that wrong, but that was my understanding. Obviously, the muted mics and no live audience is a clear Biden preference. 2 commercial breaks? I think that benefits both, but I'm willing to bet Trump would have been fine with no commercial breaks. He clearly thinks Biden won't have the stamina. I mean, he wanted a rule that they would have to stand the whole debate. I think they came to an agreement that they'll both be sitting when the debate starts, as opposed to that introduction and walk out and shake hands thing. And I think that was just because they don't want to show Biden walking. I don't know. I don't know. If I'm getting this wrong, I'm sorry, but this is what I've been hearing. I don't like to just come on here and say stuff that I just been hearing out there in the ether, but it seems like it makes sense. What else? No props or notes? Again, that kind of seems like a Biden rule. So who really made these rules? And if CNN made them or agreed to them because they didn't want to lose the debate to another network, well, that's a major problem. We can't have media outlets agreeing to the demands of campaigns in order to get the debate to have the ratings. We can't have that. I'm fine with any rules that give us a productive, substantive debate, but not rules that are insisted on because they seem to have an advantage to one side or the other. There's absolutely no question whatsoever that no live audience rule is meant to disadvantage Donald Trump. Let's not kid ourselves. The left-leaning media has said for the past 2 weeks, no audience. Yeah, that's to disadvantage Trump. I feel like I've heard them say the Biden campaign has insisted on no audience. They go back to that whole Trump town hall thing where he had the audience there hooting and hollering, and everyone was upset about that. So no audience is clearly to disadvantage Donald Trump. Whether it will or not, I don't know. The muting of the mics, same thing, supposedly to control Donald Trump. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing on the mics. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if I did want to spend time, I'd play you about 900 clips of people on the left saying every time Donald Trump opens his mouth, he gives Biden an attack ad. He creates another ad for the Biden campaign. Every time Trump is off script, he hurts his own cause. Every time Trump speaks, he reminds people how unfit for office he is. That's what they all say. They said it 1,000,000 times. So when you get the biggest, most interested, likely voters watching, you decide to turn off his mic? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? If you spend all this time telling us how nutty he is when he shoots off the cuff, then why would you insist that his microphone be turned off? Oh boy, let's make sure when he's under pressure, when he has something unrehearsed and crazy to say, let's make sure no one hears it. Except Biden, except the moderators. They will hear it. And I promise you, if Donald Trump says something compelling enough or unsettling enough to Joe Biden off mic, Biden will respond to it. For example, if Biden is touting his record on the economy and Trump says off mic, fact checkers say my economy was way better than yours, Joe, Biden will respond because it's his habit as a politician to respond. If Trump says something cringeworthy, the moderators will ask them to repeat it on mic because they don't want to lose that sound bite. If he says something like, what's Hunter doing with Bo's widow? Oh, that's weird. If he says something like that, they'll ask him to repeat it, I guarantee you, because they're media. They want that moment. So what's the point? What's the point? You lose the unhinged, out of control Trump, but he still manages to exert his control over the discussion, if you ask me. That's just my prediction on that rule. Now, no question, the no live audience rule hurts Trump more than Biden. Trump feeds off an audience, and sometimes an audience reaction makes some of the crazy things he says sound a little less crazy. But Biden could get hurt as well, because you know Joe, he has a tendency to lose his thought or trail off in the middle of a sentence, and so dead silence during one of those uncomfortable moments might make it worse for him. So the no audience thing could hurt him a little too, hurt Biden a little bit also. No notes, that doesn't hurt either guy. No props, no. What props was somebody going to bring? But no notes, that doesn't hurt either guy. Joe's been doing this for 150 years. He's not great at debates, but he knows what to do. He knows what to say. He doesn't need notes. As far as Trump goes, come on. Come on. You seriously think if someone wrote him notes, he would look at them? His entire debate prep was nothing more than someone telling him, please do not tell Dana Bash she needs to smile more. Please. Oh, why? It's a compliment. I'm telling her she's got a nice smile. Mr. President, please don't say that. Women don't like that. That was all his debate prep, I guarantee you. Don't tell Dan to bash the smile. Come on, honey, give me a smile. What else? Not mentioned in that news clip, but I understand was agreed on by both campaigns. No third-party participation. Oh, boy. I could go on about this at length, but I really want to try and keep this episode short. Let me try and do this quickly. If we are fighting to save our democracy, we don't do it by suppressing ideas we don't like or see as a threat to the establishment. I hate that Robert Kennedy is seen as a third-party candidate, because he's not. First of all, he's a nut, and that's why everybody, no Robert Kennedy, he's a nut. Okay, but he's really not a third-party candidate. He wanted to run as a Democrat. The Democrat establishment said, nope, no thank you, not interested. So he ran as an independent. But he should not be considered a true third-party candidate. So, that being said, I do believe in democracy. I do believe if someone's getting attention, that you can't shut them out. In Arizona, Kennedy is polling at 9.4% as of today. Trump is up 3 points in Arizona over Biden. Kennedy is polling at 8.4% in Georgia as of today, the 25th, June 25th. Trump's up 5 points there today. These are averages, poll averages. So these are good polls. These aren't wacky, crazy polls. These are good polls, averages. As of today, in Michigan, Kennedy is polling at 8%. It's basically a tied race. Got Biden up by half a point there. Nevada, Kennedy polling at 9.2%. Got Trump up by 3 points there. In New Jersey, Biden is up 10 to 12 points over Trump. When you throw Kennedy into the mix, Biden is up 5 points over Trump in New Jersey. You think that has something to do with Trump thinking he could win New Jersey? Oh, you better believe it does. And in Wisconsin, it's basically a tie between Trump and Biden, and Kennedy is polling at 8.4% there in Wisconsin. So Kennedy is having an effect. So I don't know if keeping him off the debate stage, people not getting a good look at him and who he is, keeping him out of the primaries, I don't know if that's going to come back to haunt the Democrats. I guess we'll see. Same argument I made with the microphones. If the person is a nut, put him out there and let the country see it. Unless, of course, you have no confidence in your guy. Unless, of course, you're nervous to put your guy, Joe Biden, on a debate stage with Kennedy and Donald Trump. I don't know. That takes me to the last point on the rules, and then I'll move on to the questions that could trip these guys up. So my last point on the rules. Why no fact-checking? Why no demand for real-time fact-checking from either side? Why no request from either side? I want to have 2 challenges around, 2 requests for fact-checks per commercial during the debate. I want to throw the flag on something that someone says. Why no request for that? They could do it. They could do real-time fact-checking. They could have people there as the debate is going on doing fact-checking and, hey, before we move on to the next segment, we just want to go back and we just want to fact-check Mr. Trump on this, or we just want to fact-check Mr. Biden on that. How come no request from either campaign? How come no push from CNN? And maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll make a liar out of me and they will actually do some sort of fact-checking during the debate. We'll see. But why no push from either campaign from that? Now, I'll tell you why. Because neither campaign has any interest in being fact-checked. Oh, you mean the Trump campaign? No, you heard me. Neither campaign. And trust me, the major concern for Joe Biden is not getting caught in a lie. It's Donald Trump getting caught in the truth. That is a concern that Joe Biden should have, his campaign should have. Don't get me wrong. It could be hard, but Donald Trump could be caught in the truth. Let's just take a look. This is from PolitiFact. They're not the worst fact-checking outfit out there, so let's go with PolitiFact. Biden's scorecard. 57% of the statements they rated were rated as true, mostly true, or half true. 57%. 41% were rated as mostly false, or pants on fire. Liar, liar, pants on fire. 41%. So that's not great. That's not great. 57% to 41%. It's not great. Don't ask me where the other 2% went. I don't know. But he's going up against the GOAT. Biden is going up against the GOAT. He's going up against the Jack Nicklaus, the Michael Jordan, the Simone Biles of dishonesty, the Mount Rushmore of deception, the Richard Petty of deceit, the greatest of all time. Donald Trump, scorecard, 75% of his holy smokes, 75% of his statements were rated as mostly false, or pants on fire. 18% with pants on fire false. O.J. Simpson was probably at like 10% pants on fire. Good grief, Donald. 23% rated as true, mostly true, or half true. But as I say, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the true statements that could help or hurt Biden or help or hurt Donald Trump. Let's take a look. Some true statements from Donald Trump. Food stamp participation hits 10-year low. That's rated as true during his administration. You could expect Donald Trump is going to go heavy on how good the times were when he was in office. So that's something that people will like. That's a true statement. The unemployment rate for Wisconsin workers has reached historic lows. Again, this is back during his administration. That's rated as a true statement. I think it's a little unfair that PolitiFact doesn't have a whole lot of recent statements from Trump. Not recent true statements. I mean, only 3% of his statements are rated as true. But come on, he's had to have had more than that recently, but okay. In New York State, Democrats blocked a bill expanding college tuition for Gold Star families after approving aid for illegal immigrants. So, rated as a true statement. Democrats blocked a bill expanding college tuition for Gold Star families who lost a family member in the military, after they approved aid for illegal immigrants. What else? The poverty rates for African Americans and Hispanic Americans has been incredible. They've all reached their lowest levels in the country, rated as true. Let me see. There was one that I saw that was a pretty strong one for Trump. Let me find it. The federal tax code includes deductions for birds flying across America. That's true. I'd love to know the backstory on that. Illegal immigration on the U.S.-Mexico border is the lowest in 17 years. That was rated as true, again, during his administration. I can't find it. Maybe it was under mostly true. Under 3 years of my administration, net farm income has already gone up nearly 50%. That's rated as mostly true. Here's one. Says Nancy Pelosi's coronavirus bill includes tax credits for solar and wind energy, retirement plans for community, newspaper employees, $300 million for PBS, climate change studies, and more. That's rated as mostly true. So if he brings it up at the debate, I mean, and that, that's seen as mostly true, that they were spending the coronavirus money on all these different kind of progressive, not related to COVID at all type things, PBS, solar and wind energy. I don't know. Like I said, you can catch him in something true that really hurts Biden. Let's take a look at Biden. True statements. Violent crime is near a 50-year low. That's from this year. Under Joe Biden, there are a record number of new black entrepreneurs. That's rated as true. In more than 60 cases, judges looked at the allegations that Trump was making and determined they were without merit. That has to do with the election, I'm going to guess. That's rated as true. Some false statements from Joe. He gets a little sloppy. As you've heard me say, Joe can be a little sloppy. Inflation was 9% when I came into office. No, it wasn't, Joe. No, it wasn't. It was much lower. Joe claims he got arrested while protesting in favor of desegregation. That is rated as false. He did not. On classified documents in his possession, none of it was high classified. That was rated as false. That was Joe Biden saying that none of the documents he had were high classified, whatever high classified is. That was rated as false. There are 1,000 billionaires now, and you know what their average tax rate is, 8%. That is rated as false. That has been debunked many times. I don't know why people insist on claiming that billionaires pay 8% taxes. They pay closer to a 20% tax rate, but okay. Ground Zero in New York, I remember standing there the next day. That's rated as false. He was not there. So you get the point. As I say, I don't think either campaign is all that interested in a whole lot of fact-checking. Donald Trump could tell 500 lies on that stage on Thursday night. But one truthful fact that slips in there somewhere could damage Joe Biden more than anything, depending on what it is. So we'll have to see how that goes and how CNN handles it. Let's move on to some questions I'd like to see asked and what may trip up both candidates. First, Joe Biden. The Trump spending. I think Biden has moved away from trying to hit Trump with this as much spending while he was in office. But Joe has been so critical of it and made such a big deal out of the spending under Donald Trump, he may be asked, would you not have approved the COVID spending Donald Trump did? Will you let the middle class Trump tax cuts expire in 2025? The Trump tax cuts lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. Do you intend to raise it? If so, to what? And so Joe better come prepared to deal with some of these questions that may come up on spending, both spending under his administration and spending under Donald Trump's administration. Because if he's going to try and do a side-by-side, cut the spending and Donald Trump was spending out of control, that might not work out well for him. He's going to need more than a boilerplate, the rich got to pay their fair share. I mean, he's going to have to, or he should have to, if you ask me. I'd like to see it asked. If he wants to sit there and do the rich got to pay their fair share, okay, Joe, corporate tax rate, 21%. You want to take it back to 35? What do you want to increase it to? Do you want to leave it at 21%? He should have to answer those questions. Like I say, if he's going to be critical, so critical on Donald Trump about it. For Donald Trump, questions that could trip him up. I'll just rattle off a list of general topics. Number 1, are you insane? Number 2, any question on abortion. Number 3, any question on LGBTQ. Number 4, any question regarding plans for a second term. All of these questions can trip up Donald Trump. Plans for a second term? I guarantee you he says, the first time around, I didn't know much about politics. I didn't know much about Washington, D.C. Now, believe me, nobody understands politics like Trump. That's what he's going to say. He'll give that answer 3 times during the course of this debate. If he gets poked in the eye on the way to the debate and has to wear an eye patch, he'll show up and say, before I got poked in the eye, I didn't know very much about being a pirate. But now, nobody knows more about being a pirate than Trump, I'll tell you. And give him a rope and a hat, he'll say, nobody knows more about being a cowboy than Trump, I have to say. I know more than anyone. So he has 0 plans, I think, for a second. No, scratch that. I got to give him more credit than that. His plans for a second term, make America great again, drill baby drill, and secure the border. That's his plans for the second term. And look, maybe that's all he needs, but that's it. On abortion, he said his position is to leave it up to the states. So he should be asked, okay, what if the states are too heavy-handed? Do you see that as a possibility? What does he consider appropriate for abortion? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 20 weeks? Exceptions for incest, rape, life of the mother? If he's pressed on this, he can't appear to dodge. He's got to give a firm answer on his position on abortion and not just say, I'll leave it up to the states. He should be pressed on it. As far as LGBTQ, it's Pride Month, Donald. Don't say something stupid, all right? Back to Biden. If he's asked about student loan cancellation, he better be prepared with a better answer than James Clyburn. Let's listen. This is Clyburn, Representative Clyburn, being asked, I believe it was by Neil Cavuto on Fox, about who's going to pay for the student loan cancellation.
What has happened in the last 4 years on student debt, for instance? Joe Biden has eliminated, just in public service student loan debt alone, over $60 billion for people saddled with student loan debt.
And who's paying for that, Congressman? It's all well and good, but who's paying for it?
What do you mean who's paying for it?
Who's paying for that? Who's paying for that debt relief? Who's doing it?
Nobody is paying for that relief. This is interest. This is not the principal. The principal was paid back a long, long, long time ago. When you get someone that borrowed $60,000 and paid back $200,000 and still owed $119,000.
No, I understand that, and Democrats have led this, and the president's led the charge to forgive student debt, to forgive some of it and all of that. But ultimately, it's piled on to our national debt, which is ballooned under this president. Just by the way, as it ballooned under the former president, I got you there. But that's not solving the problem, taking money and helping one group and then saddling everyone else with the bill because we're all paid for the debt.
I always try and find and play clips that are a little bit longer than you may hear on some media. I just hate it when I hear clips that I feel like they got cut off too quick. I didn't know really what the person said. But I also just want you to focus on the question, who pays for the student loan cancellation, rather than get into a back and forth on who is accumulating more debt, whether it's more to Trump or to Biden, whether the program is a good program. It's just this question, who's paying for it? If you're confronted with that question, if Joe Biden's confronted with that question, he needs a better answer than nobody. Nobody's paying for it. This is interest. What? No, the debt doesn't just disappear. And to say it's already been paid because the person took out a $60,000 loan and with interest they paid $200,000 and they still owe $119,000, so we're just canceling the interest and nobody has to pay for it. I mean, come on. This is why I hate politics so much. How do you come up with an answer like that? And he's so close to sounding like he's making sense, but I'm going to call my mortgage company and say, hey, look, I've already paid you enough money. I'm canceling the rest of my debt. I'll let you know how that works out. Biden has got to have a better answer. It's not nobody. I don't care if it's principal or if it's interest or if it's a pinky swear. The lender is going to get what's promised from someone. If Biden or Clyburn or the Democrats are telling me that in defiance of the Supreme Court, they're canceling this debt and telling lenders, hey, screw you, you got enough, you may as well just write off this $68 billion. Well, okay, but that's not what they're doing. They're telling us, hey, listen, we found a workaround from the Supreme Court ruling, and we're still going to cancel this debt, quote unquote, cancel the debt, and it's going to be put onto our national debt. So as you heard Cavuto say, oh, you're helping one group, but you're kind of putting all this debt onto all of us. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. If Biden has got a better way to explain that, he better come up with it and not get caught like Clyburn did there. And by the way, who the heck took out a $60,000 loan, paid back $200,000, and still owes $119,000? That sounds like that college education didn't do them a bit of good. Let's get back to Trump. I got to keep these short. Question for Trump that could trip him up. I'd like to hear asked, though. Can a presidential election be stolen from a Democrat? Can a presidential election be stolen from a Democrat? I'm just curious what he would say. Just curious to hear what Trump would say. Both sides complain. Both sides cry foul. You've heard me say it a million times when they lose an election. Some take it further than just complaining, but both sides complain. But for Republicans, it does seem they have some interesting accusations of the foul play. They say, hey, dead people voted. Dead people voted in that election. And they voted Democrat? How come dead people are always voting for Democrats? Oh, they stuffed the ballot boxes. They stuffed the ballot boxes for Biden. How do you know? How do you know they weren't stuffing the ballot boxes for Trump? How do you know that if you think they did that? Oh, they found Trump votes in a dumpster. They found all these Trump votes in a dumpster. Don't we vote on machines? Isn't a paper ballot usually a backup? So in theory, if you really did find paper votes in a dumpster, wouldn't those votes still be recorded on voting machines? Like I said, I'm just curious what he might say if you asked him, do you think elections can be stolen from someone other than you? Can it be stolen from a Democrat? Because he seems to think the potential cheating only works one way. So that's a question for Trump. Back to Biden. Joe Biden, are you concerned an election can be stolen in this country? Now be careful, Joe. Be careful. Don't come across as naive to make people happy. Both candidates will obviously be asked the question, will you accept the outcome of the election regardless of blah, 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 blah? They're going to be asked the question, both guys. And Biden will immediately and firmly answer, yes, yes. And the next day, everyone on MSNBC will say, oh, Joe Biden, when he was asked about accepting the outcome of the election like a true patriot, he answered immediately, yes, yes, I will accept the outcome of the election. Yeah, because he's a politician. He's a politician. He's got enough sense to know what you're supposed to answer, how you're supposed to answer that question. He understands the optics of not wavering on that question. I just hope it doesn't come back to haunt him. If Joe Biden wins the popular vote, by 8 million votes and loses Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan by 20,000 votes combined, loses Arizona by like 10,000 votes, 5,000 votes in Georgia, 5,000 votes in Michigan, loses by 20,000 votes combined, and he's refusing to concede until there's a recount? Well, he kind of didn't accept the outcome of the election. And don't worry, I know all of liberal media will say, well, hang on now. No, this is different. This is different. There's automatic recounts. When I know what they're going to say, but it's going to look a little strange to spend all this time saying, I'll accept the outcome of the election no matter what. You're setting yourself up to look kind of silly when the time comes to challenge the outcome of the election, as it very well may. So I would just caution Joe on that one. Maybe give a little bit more thought to the answer and not give the one that you know is going to be politically make you look good in some people's eyes. Last question for Joe that could trip him up. Any question on immigration. Any question for Joe on immigration can trip him up. He has to be clear and assertive on the border. He cannot try to appease his left flank while trying to show he's tough to people on the right. He also can't try and shift all the blame to Republicans. Not all the blame. He's got to accept some of the blame for what has happened at the border since he's been in office. He's got to. He's got to acknowledge the problem so that he can convince people that he is serious about fixing the problem. Last question for Donald Trump that could trip him up that I'd like to see asked. Mr. Trump, if you vow to pardon the January 6th prisoners, if you're elected, you've stated you will pardon the people in prison because of January 6th. If the next election does not go your way, would you encourage a similar type protest? If you're saying you don't believe those people belong in jail, if you lose the next election and believe it was stolen from you, would you encourage people to do the same thing? To react the same way? Mr. Trump, what would be your guidance or directions to your loyal supporters if the election doesn't go the way you hope? And before you answer, let me ask that again to be sure you understand, Mr. Trump. If you lose the election, look in the camera and tell your supporters how you would like them to respond. That's a question that could absolutely trip Trump up. But let's hope for our sake, for his sake, for the country's sake, it's not. Well, you don't even know. That was a rough episode for me. All sorts of technical problems and interruptions. I managed to get through it, though. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll share it. Follow me. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Anywhere you get podcasts. Summertime. Hot, 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 hot. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the debate, and I'll see you next time.